party people. Well, welcome once again to the Party of One podcast, the actual play RPG podcast where the gaming table is always set for two. I'm your host as always, Jeff Stormer. And this week on the show, I am joined by Jade Oxford Rose for a game of Navigator. Navigator is a two-player role-playing game inspired by the movie Stalker and the novel Roadside Picnic about two people, the Client and the Navigator, journeying into a mysterious restricted site known only as the Zone to find a room rumored to grant people their innermost desires. The Client is a person who wants to find this room and have their wish granted, and the other player is the Navigator, a person with previous experience navigating the Zone that has been hired by the Client to help them find the room. I love this game. I've played it a few times. I played it with Noah Houlihan on a stream, and we played it for the show today. Every time I play it, I walk away just stunned at how good and cool it is. The evocative prompts and the way that it builds tension and story, it is extremely cool, and like it has a narrative hook that I am so here for. I love this game. I think you're going to love this game. I think you're going to love the game that Jade and I played of it together. This game rips. You should absolutely pick it up. You can find more information about Navigator at michaelclamorous.itch.io, or you can check the show notes for more information. Jade is a cast member on Follow the Leader, which is a weekly LGBTQ plus actual play podcast about GM-less TTRPGs and character-driven stories. Follow the Leader is wonderful. If you like the kind of stories that I tell on this show every week, you will love Follow the Leader. They do a lot of very similar things. They have a lot of long-running stories and character beats that happen between these sort of discrete one-shot games that are all GM-less. It is wonderful. It is a show that I really love. They are also a cast member on Dumb Kids Playing Hero, which is an Animorphs-inspired actual play podcast. You can find links to both of those shows as well as everything else that Jade has going on in the show notes. And, I think, with all that said, I don't think I have anything else for you today at the top of the show, so let's go ahead and throw it over to me in the past so that he can get started with the show. Take it past me. Thanks, future me. This week, I am so excited to be sitting down with Jade Oxford Rose. Jade, thank you so much for coming on Party of One.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
I'm so excited. I know that we've been trying to get this game together for a little while now, and I'm excited because this is a game that I dearly love, and I'm excited to play with you. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, third time's a charm. You know, schedules and cats and computers and all sorts of things, but we're here. We're play.
Here. We made it. We made it. We got through. We're here. It's go time. I'm ready. I'm excited. So, real quick before we dive in, why don't you take a moment to let the lovely listeners at home know about anything you've got going on that you might want them to know about?
Well, I am part of a stupidly large plethora of podcasts, the podcast family, if you will, the guild, as we also call ourselves. As a group collective, we're Standing Stones Productions. You may have heard of us. I know a couple of members, or one member has been on Party of One before. That's Brian from The Room Where It Happened. But yeah, Standing Stones is what happens when two podcast groups that get on very well decide that they would like to make podcasts together and decide to make it official on Facebook. Specifically, I am one of the members of Follow the Leader, which is a GM-less actual play podcast. Every so often, we'll play a new game or a new system. Sometimes we return, but we have a rotating pool of characters that we like to pull from that come back time and again in different universes to tell different stories. But we really like our format because we think it's fun and easy to hop onto. And like we've got fantasy, we've got sci-fi, we've got high school drama, all sorts. And just really proud of the work that we do. We've been doing that for 2 years now. That's terrifying to say.
Yeah, right?
What is time and what is podcasting? I'm a millennial.
Wait till you have to say the words 5 years. Just wait. When those words leave your lips, it elicits a certain kind of feeling. We've just started airing the second season of Dumb Kids Playing Hero, which is another Standing Stones production, which is an Animorphs-inspired actual play podcast using a hack of Blades in the Dark called Idiot Teenagers with a Death Wish that our GM Danielle wrote. And if you've read the Animorphs books and thought, this is terrifying, this should never happen to children, you might find it more palatable to watch it happening to a bunch of 20-something-year-old college students in Boston set in the year 2003 instead. But in the way of Animorphs, it is very traumatic for everybody involved, and we're having an excellent time. And even if you don't like Animorphs, you should come along because, you know, it's that good angst that we all crave in our stories. Of course. No, I mean, that's what we're all here for, is to feel sad about stuff. That's the
Can
magic.
have feelings about things.
Exactly. That's the magic. That's the secret sauce. And speaking of the secret sauce, do you want to feel some feelings and play a game right now?
Hell yes.
All right. Well, we are playing Navigator this week. Navigator is a game for 2 players about a journey into a mysterious, restricted site known only as the Zone, looking to find a room rumored to grant people their innermost desires. One of us will play the client, a person who wants to find this room and have their wish granted, and the other player is the navigator, a person with previous experience navigating the zone who has been hired by the client to help them find the room. I've played this game before. I am such a fan of it. I love I love the structure of it. I love the mechanics of it. I can't wait to play it. This is going to be very, very good.
I have not played it before, and I am marginally terrified in the good way that I am with all new systems. So,
it's good. It's real good, and I can't wait to play it with you. This is going to be great. So let's go ahead and dive in. There's some set of questions that we're going to get into, and then we'll decide. I guess first off, do you want to play the client or do you want to play the navigator?
I'm pretty easy. What have you played before, and would you like to play the other one?
I was the navigator last time I played, so I think I'd like to play the client today.
Cool. I was leaning slightly more towards navigator anyway, so that works
Perfect.
out.
That works. Okay, so we've got some setup questions to flesh out our scenario. Like I said, we are going into a restricted site known as the Zone to find a room rumored to grant people their innermost desires. I want to find the room. You have experience navigating the Zone. So we've got a few questions to answer. The first question is, what was this land before it became the Zone?
I suppose, we should have what sort of tone do we want the story to have? Because that could really reflect the vibe of the zone. Like, are we talking like Kippo and the Wonder Beasts kind of zone? Or are we talking something a little more, I don't say adult orientated. That's not the word I was going for, because that has a connotation I was not implying, but more like post-apocalyptic, heavy, the road kind of a vibe.
I think I'm leaning a little more towards post-apocalyptic, but I don't mind it being a little lighter at the same time.
I'm good either way. I was just like, that was just thought I should pitch this before going, I'm imagining this. Just sort of like, nah,
good point.
nah.
A very good instinct. I appreciate that.
No worries. Okay, so what was this land before it became the zone? I like urban sprawls a lot that have been reclaimed by nature.
I'm a sucker for an urban sprawl. It is my favorite thing.
Also, I am much better at describing urban stuff than I am anything nature-related, because I am... One, I'm from a very small country. We don't have a big lot of countryside. The accent might be the clue there. And... And yeah, I'm just a homebody. I can appreciate nature, but don't ask me to identify anything.
Fair. I have a proposal. An outdoor shopping center. A lot of storefronts. One of those I don't actually know I don't know if you might have them in over on the other side of the pond, but it's sort of a shopping mall, but outside is the only way to describe it. So it's across 3 city blocks. All of the stores that would be in a shopping mall are just individual storefronts that have taken over a section of a city.
This is terrifying. No, we don't have anything quite we have similar things, but on a much smaller scale called retail parks.
Yeah, so, that's kind of the energy that I'm getting here. It's a retail park. It's like a bunch of stores along a select block of streets. And because the visuals there that I really like are that means that the stores are abandoned, and an abandoned storefront is peak atmosphere. There's a real vibe to that. And then there's the sprawling nature of it is very good, especially when everything seems like it should be, immediately identifiable. It makes it kind of interesting and weird when it's not.
We've also slid really nicely into a scathing critique of capitalism by going to an outdoor shopping centre to get one's innermost desire. So,
you know what? I was not thinking of it. You're exactly right. I'm leaning into it. So, next question: do people know what happened do people know what happened that turned this place into the zone?
I like the notion that there's lots of theories, but nobody's exactly sure. Everyone's got a story. About what made the zone, and there's no consensus on what it is, because everyone goes, that's ridiculous, I think it's this, and everyone's like, my dude,
I like that a lot. I like that.
All right.
What does the client plan to wish for? What do I want more than anything that I think the zone can give me?
I suppose the question is this post-apocalyptic thing on a wide scale, or is it just like this weird localized patch of weird?
I kind of like it being a weird localized catch of weird.
Yeah,
like
that's
I was thinking
fun.
of it. I was thinking of it on like at first I was thinking of it on like big apocalyptic scale, but the more I think about it, the more I like that like this just happened.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think the thing that I want is I'm gonna add to it and say the thing that I want is my life back because I like owned one of these shops. And like when this event happened, when the zone happened, like I lost everything, right? Like my job, my lost my job obviously, but like it is, you know, I think there's like it is a literal representation of like this thing was taken away from me when this thing happened. So like I am wishing for like my apartment back because maybe I got like kicked out of my apartment and I like moved into a different apartment. And it's not even that I am going into the critique of capitalism. I think I am the worst kind of like comfortable where like what I am after is not survival, it is just the comfort that I already had.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Like this is me feeling entitled to the life that to a life and not like trying to survive.
Alrighty.
I don't like this character, but I'm excited to play them. So, next question. Why is the navigator guiding the client into the zone? Why has the navigator previously been in the zone?
Okay, well, I kind of had an idea for the second part rather than the first part. My notion originally, as twisted slightly, there was, as part of this outdoor shopping center, one of those like places where you drop off your kids while you go shop. And my character happened to be in that like daycare area when the zone shifted and became the zone.
Oh, I like that.
And so they're just comfortable walking around here. I think there's probably a few people that might be down with the zone and maybe even live there.
Or live on,
and just sort of like, I always like those characters like at Born Post events and stuff like that who have just got a little bit of them or of it in them. So yeah, that's why they know how to navigate the zone.
I like that a lot. And I almost think that like that kind of bleeds into the first answer. If I am someone that worked here beforehand and you were also someone that was like present when it happened, it means that like maybe we had like some level of like courteous interaction before, and then you became known as someone that could move comfortably. And when I wanted to take back what I felt I was owed, like you were the first person that came to mind because you were you were in my Rolodex already.
I like that.
All right, next question. What rumors have we heard about this place, and what is rumored to be inside the room?
Well, we already said that there's lots of rumors. So I blame One Division for this, and also the very conceit of which Follow the Leader is based on. But what if there's a rumor like every store is like a different time period or reality?
I like that. I like that a lot.
So you never know quite where you're going to end up when you go in there.
And like even taking that a step further, if it is somewhat, if it is the thing that I want, and this is me throwing this and also peeling back the curtain and putting a thematic desire for the game that I'm going to lean into. If it is like tied to the like reality that is presented, like the storefronts inside have distorted to present their own individual realities as represented by the storefront. If that makes sense. That idea of like the Bass Pro Shop is going to show you like the most Bass, like what the world would look like if the world if the Bass Pro Shop was the center of the universe.
I was gonna say like I thought you were gonna go with like the platonic ideal of, but no, I love the notion of a world shaped through the view of like, imagine a whole world that was like the inside of a Hollister. Like that's terrifying. But yes, I love that.
And it's like it takes that idea, and so there's this slight level of predictability to it, right? But there's also this idea that like you can't envision how far it goes into that world, right? Like you can go like, oh well, I understand what the world's gonna look like if I look into a Starbucks. I get what the world is gonna look like, but like when you see it to the farthest possible point, to like the never-ending thing of like this is the only thing that has ever been. It becomes completely alien.
Yeah. I also like that there's a notion of we are so trapped in our ways of conceiving the world that it can only be through these specific lenses as well. Just sort of like we can only imagine a capitalist hellscape.
Yep. I love it.
Topical.
I feel like we've tapped into the heart of the story that we want to tell, and I'm here for it. So I'm gonna add a question.
Okay.
Because I want because we've established a world detail that I really want to like poke at a little bit. I want us to each answer what we think happened, like what our, because I think that'll give us a good like initial character thing to hang on, is like what do we think happened to make it the zone? Like what is the, if we've established that like everyone has their own individual like rumor that they've held on to, like what do we assume the thing is? I am going to say, leaning into this character that like this character that I'm playing feels very externalizing. So I think that they think that this is some kind of, like government op, or like this was like a government experiment. They think that someone did this. And they think that someone did this, like, they won't say it outright that they think someone did this to them, but they think someone did this. Like, they think this was an action that someone took to external, that leaning into that feeling of, like, I am externalizing things that I feel like I am owed.
All right. I'm going to go a different way. And I like the notion that my character is convinced there's some kind of, like, genus Loki or something like that decided fuck it and was done with people and just like, nope, everybody out. And just sort of like the concentrated notion of people's desires and wills and like the constant flow of people and energy manifested into something real and just warped reality as it saw fit. So probably speaks about the zone in a very personable sense. As
I like that.
So
whereas I think I am purely antagonistic towards it, right? Like I think I am purely like this is something that was this is an attack, and this is the evidence of the attack.
Yeah.
Nice. I also have a pitch for what is rumored to be inside the room.
Oh yeah.
I think that like in the going full capitalist, I think I think that like the idea, or at least like an idea, I don't think anybody has like a clear picture, but I think the idea that I hold on to is that it's an information desk. And that like when you get there, you just walk up and you say what you want and they'll get it for you.
I like that.
It's it feels like cleaner than it could possibly be in reality.
Yeah.
And I like that slight delusion.
Nice. I think for me, it might just be like a manifestation or a means to communicate. Just like,
I like that.
The heart of the space.
And so last question is, how do you enter the zone, and is the place so difficult to enter?
I think the outskirts are pretty easy. Maybe there was like obviously like a big parking lot around it. And so that sort of border around it is quite maybe easy to traverse, and the outer stuff is maybe a little bit more accessible, but as you try to get in, then things start shifting, and maybe because it's so many different layers of reality competing, that's why it's difficult to navigate, because you don't know if you can trust a footbridge, or if it might just become a lake that that was a pavement a second ago.
I like that. I really like that. That's very good. And so with that, we are ready to start play. We have fully entered the zone.
Mm-hmm.
I guess this is an important question because like either option works for the story that we're telling.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have names?
I like that we do, but maybe here we aren't using them for what
I
you
like
said.
that.
If your character's a little bit paranoid, am I just like, okay, fine?
I like that. I like that. I think I call you. I think when you're here, I call you Navigator almost as a. I think my justification is like it establishes that you belong in this space, which which I think will protect me.
Yeah, like you're accepting that I am other, and by
Yeah.
keeping that distance, you are safer.
That and it like if I am it is signaling to the zone itself that like you belong here. And thus like I believe like since I see both like the zone like you and the zone kind of as antagonistic forces to me. It's this sense of like if I say that you belong here, then maybe like the zone will ignore me.
I like it.
I like this dirtbag character a lot is the thing.
I kind of want to know. We don't have to answer. Like, what was the store that he worked in? Or sorry, shouldn't assume pronouns.
We can go with he his. I'm comfortable with that. What was the store that he worked at? I think he worked at a bank.
Oh my God.
That feels like peak. That feels peak on the nose.
Yep. Okay. Fair. Fair.
And I think there's a detail that I want to add now that you've mentioned like a specific store that like he worked at is I think the stores change. I think like there was like obviously when it happened there was like a very discrete map of like these are the stores and these are the locations they're in. And that is completely out the window.
Yeah.
Like it was we thought we knew what stores would be in what places and then suddenly stores that haven't existed in centuries started popping up, stores that maybe stores that were like fictional, like stores that were made up by people exist. Like the stores that were supposed to be in a given spot now exist halfway like across the zone. Like what we like the places, there's still these very discrete like storefront locations, but like we have no way of charting which stores are going to be in which places.
Love that.
I'm very here for this. All right. So we are now in the zone. We have arrived. Let me ask you, what are the pronouns for the navigator?
I'll just go with they them. I like they them.
All right. So what's going to happen now is I'm going to draw a card. Each card represents something we have come across during our search for the room. We will use the discovery section at the end of the book as a prompt to help describe what we have found. As we make our journey, traditionally we would map a path we are taking on a sheet of paper along with the things we see along the way. Technically, our podcast will be our sheet of paper and our map. Each time we draw a card, we're going to add up our total and then kind of follow blackjack rules to determine whether the day has been successful, whether we keep going, or whether we like stop for the night and have a scene of us like talking in our camp.
All right.
Are we ready for our first card?
Hell yes.
I've drawn the Queen of Clubs. Clubs are animals, people, or plants, and the Queen asks the question of, this is where you were injured. Explain what happened. One of us gets injured by an animal, a person, or plants.
All fun.
So plants immediately jumps out to me as the juiciest option for like causing an injury.
I'm down for that. Like I'm just picturing like one of those big planters that's become something else.
Yeah, I like what I love is like the visual you threw out of like terrain changing. If a clear spot of ground turned into like a pot, like a potted plant, and so like coming down like jammed one of our legs into a potted plant, and like twisted one of our ankles. That's like a very good moment of like there's no way, or even adding to the horror of it, like there was a tree that was here, and the pot came up from the ground to like catch one of our ankles.
That's good.
So which of us do we think got hurt here?
I think it might be interesting to have it be the navigator because they're supposed to be more comfortable in this space.
Ooh,
and
I
just
like
sort of
that.
sets things on an uncertain note.
I like that. I like that a lot. That feels very good, especially because like that's gonna immediately. I think what happens is like that happens and immediately, peak. Immediately, like peak entitled. I'm like, you were supposed to know better. Like you were supposed to. Like, how am I gonna? We're this early and you're already getting hurt. Like you're supposed to be the person that knows this. How am I? How am I gonna be the expert here? And I've immediately painted you as the failure in my head. Because I'm a jerk.
It's just like yank my foot out of this pot and I look at you. It's just sort of like, okay, do you want to report me to my supervisor or get somebody different?
And I like walk past you. Like I walk past you, stop, sink my shoulders, come back, and like offer my shoulder. I'm like, do you want to lean on my shoulder because your ankle's hurt?
Yeah, maybe for a little bit.
All right.
Okay. This is why you wear strong shoes.
Strong shoes. I am wearing like dress. I'm wearing like penny loafers. I did not come dressed for like long-term walking.
Incredible.
All right, so we now look at the total number of cards that we have for the day. We have a total of 10, which means that we're under 14, which means we do not have the supplies to stop today's journey so soon. Draw another card after updating our map and answer the question of where we're going next. I think that where we should go next, I think like... So I think I know where where the client wants to go next, but I also know where like we should go next. They're very different answers. We should find so we should like seek out a store that might have some kind of medical supplies for your ankle. That's going to be the right answer. But I think that the client has like such intense tunnel vision that like that's not even an option.
Sure.
So what is the navigator's feelings here?
I think for the navigator, it's like they're along for the ride as much as anything. Like they could have found the room probably by now. They're doing this because they've been asked to. And it's like this awareness that their desire isn't actually that important.
I like that.
So they will follow. Like they've got the sort of like it's a little bit of a what will be.
Yeah.
Because they believe that in the sentience of the zone, just sort of like, okay, fine. This might as well happen.
What we need will present itself.
Yeah. Yeah, just like, okay, you pick where we want to go. I'm going to find what I need there, I'm sure.
Okay. Well, that means that, yeah, so I like that. I'm like pushing through and I'm like, we just got to keep going. We got to find the heart or the information desk or whatever the hell it is we're looking for. And I flip our next card. It is the Queen of Spades. Spades are buildings, nature, and statues, and Queen, also an injury.
Incredible. Starting strong.
I've got to get injured here, right? Like, I've got to throw us headlong into an injury.
Absolutely.
And this is building, nature, or statues. I think I've got to push us into a building. Like, almost ignoring your advice because, like, you got hurt. Like, I don't have to listen to you. And, like, this is maybe where we get exposed to the nature of the zone, right? Like, this is where we get exposed to, like, this sort of, like, the buildings that shape the reality around them experience.
Maybe it looks, as we approach it, like it's a building or a room a shop you recognize. You're like, oh, it's that way. It's got to be that way. I know that shop. And we, like, go in and it shifts as we step in.
Yeah, I love that. And it, like, so yeah, it's like, maybe it's like a restaurant that, like, it's like a comfy, like, it's not even like a chain store. It's like a restaurant that I look at and I'm like, oh, I know that place. I know the people that own it. They're lovely. And we walk in and it's like, like we go in and like the reality of this restaurant has like shifted so rapidly that like I get pulled into something horrifying by virtue of like stumbling into this place that I was wholly not prepared for. I'm trying to think how I want to push the theme of like a casual restaurant maybe it's like because of the character that I'm playing, it's like a fancy restaurant or like a cafe.
Yeah,
But
like a
there's this sense
bistro
of
kind of a vibe.
yeah, but when I walk in, like the reality of it is like I walk in and the sheer noise that I make, like walking in and carrying you on my shoulder, this world where the silence and the serenity of like a fancy posh bistro, like is the noise that I make, like walking in with you is like a horrific intrusion. And I get like, and we get like angrily shoved out, and I get like punched in the face or something.
Oh, I love it. Like this manifestation of like a maitre d', just like, no, couldn't possibly, no. And just like body checks us out.
Or like, yeah, like grabs me, like you're able to like slip away and stumble out, like grabs me, like dislocates my arm in doing the like arm behind the back, shove you out of the store, like full on like arm out of the socket. And I'm just like, I'm left like, all, like just like screaming in agony. Like, I don't, what?
Hey,
I don't know what.
Hey, breathe. Okay, I need you to, and I'm sort of like looking, count down from 10 for me.
All right, 10, 9, 8.
Cracks the arm back into place.
Yep. I think I'm like swinging at you, but swinging at you like barely, in like a way that like is barely like functional, because like I'm getting used to having my arm back in place. I'm like throwing punches, and I'm like, you said what you were supposed to. I'm gonna get you back for that.
Okay, sure. You can get me back for that. How about I find us some painkillers maybe for that?
All right, look, you're temporarily forgiven, because that sounds like a really good idea.
Magnanimous. Thank you. Just sort of like turns and sort of like doesn't look, but sort of closes their eyes and thinks. And sort of like without maybe look, there's nothing visible that indicates that they figured out which way to go. They just start walking slightly in a direction. I
love it. I think that like this is perfect because our card total is between a 14 and a 21. Today's journey has been a success, and we may rest. So I think like we stumble upon, maybe it's not even a storefront, but it's like a first aid kiosk type thing. That like, or it's like almost like a somewhere between like a vending machine and one of those like fire emergency kits that like you hang on a wall that like just has the medical supplies, because you just happened to, you were able to like close your eyes and figure out where one of these things might be hanging on like a tree.
Yeah. I love that.
All right. So could you do me a favor and roll 2d6 for me?
Yes. Have I got actual dice nearby? I do. I ask it like it's an actual question, that I don't have a supremely stupid amount of dice in my vicinity at any given time.
Full disclosure, I have my microphone sitting on top of a dice box, so it was just as easily for me to grab that dice.
11.
Okay, so that was not lower than the number of days we've been traveling, which is 1. So we have to continue on our way. We have not found the room, but for now we can set up camp and reflect on our day. We should answer the following questions. What have we learned about the zone? How are we feeling about our journey, and has the client's wish changed?
I feel like it's less the navigators learn something about the zone and more how it's interacting with the client. And
interesting.
And they're trying to work out if that hostility is the zone just naturally, or whether there's something about the client that's making the zone act that way.
Oh, I really like that. And I think that like what I am feeling about the journey is affirming my suspicions in the worst way, which is like this is the enemy, and this is like actively fighting us, right? Like this is trying to kill us in a way that like I'm like, see, this is all the proof that I needed in my head. And whether that is my coming to a natural conclusion or the zone playing with my head is something that I want to discover through as we keep going.
Nice.
And I do have an answer to whether the client's wish has changed. I think that, like, the experience at the bistro, because that was, like, my friend's restaurant.
Yes.
I think it has changed into a much more of a, I want to get mine wish. I think that it has, which I think kind of, like, again, could be the zone, could just be me. Like, it has shifted a little bit into, like, I wanted to restore a sense of normalcy to everyone, to, I want to get my life back.
Yeah.
Because I no longer feel like I trust everyone after having exactly one bad experience.
Uh-huh.
All right.
All right.
Next day, we've set up camp. We've reflected on our journey. We'll start our camp on the next day with the 8 of spades. Spades are buildings, nature, and statues, and an 8 is, what are the signs that another group was previously here?
I like the thought that there looks like there's been something cultivated.
Oh, that's interesting.
Like a small, what looks like a vegetable garden or something like that.
That's
shifting. Or maybe it was like the freezer section of a food store or something. Or maybe like, you know how in some supermarkets they have those veggies where they spray the fruit and veg?
Mm-hmm.
But it looks like somebody has gone to the effort of making a place to grow food.
And what I love about that...
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, and it's way more progressed along than the time frame that we can wrap our heads around. Like, this is like well established. This isn't like somebody spent a couple of weeks. This is like well established.
And what I love about that, really, truly, the visual that I get is that, like, the zone is shifted. Like, we're seeing the landscape change and the buildings change, and we're seeing things shift around this cultivated space. But, like, this tiny space is constant, and it has this energy of, like, if you, in however they managed to do it, they managed to create a constant space in the zone in a way that is fascinating, but also a little horrifying.
Oh yeah, it's definitely unsettling as hell.
I think that I force us to stop there, I think is like what happens, right?
Yeah. I just love that visual of like when you're trying to focus on something and everything's moving except for this one thing that's not. And then your eye is drawn to it, but also it starts making you feel a little nauseous because everything around it is moving.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but no, I love that.
And I think I force us to like stop there and like I carve up some food, like I rip off some like plants or some like I rip off a tomato and I'm just like recklessly eating it, and it just has the energy of the person that was bitten by a zombie, right? It has that energy of like, oh, you're gonna die here.
Oh man, I think the navigator just sort of like takes that in and just sort of like, I am not going to try get in between him and that tomato, quite frankly. But it's sort of like, I don't think they've seen this spot before, and that's wigging them out.
I love that. I adore that.
Just like, I'm supposed to know this place and I don't know this, but it's got that wrongness because it feels so different from the rest of the zone, but also the fact that the zone has let this stay is deeply interesting.
Yeah.
So sort of like just trying to take it in and like feel out, what is this? Why is this?
And I think like I think I load up. I think I've got like a not a travel backpack, not a camping backpack, not a survival backpack, but very much like an urban, ordinary ass backpack. And I like throw some fruit in there, and I'm like, well, you know what? Whatever this place is, apology accepted. And I kind of like strut past you now, feeling confident that like immediately creating the narrative in my head that is, I don't think at all the narrative that is actually unfolding.
Yeah. The navigator absolutely does not take anything. Has a little bit of a, you don't accept food when you're in fairy. You don't take food from the pale man's table. Like, I don't know if this is for me to take, so I'm not.
I love it. I love it so much. Would you like me to flip our next card?
Yes, please.
All right, I have flipped the 5 of clubs. Clubs are animals, people, and plants. And a 5 is this makes you think about the client's wish. Is it encouraging or does it make you second guess it?
Mm. This was a club, yeah? Animals, people,
Animals, people, and plants. I think I have something.
Please.
I think like adding to the story of the day in the eyes of the client, we find the client's plant from his desk at work, like his desk from his manager section office at work.
Uh-huh.
And it looks exactly the way that it did. And I think like what you see as the navigator is like, it's not dead.
Mm.
It's not, but it sure as hell ain't thriving.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like someone bought like a pre-potted plant from a big box store or from a Target or what have you.
Yeah.
And like has done the bare minimum of like I water it once a day using water from the water cooler.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't really get it gets a little sun, not a lot of sun. Yeah. And it just kind of has this like slightly depressing look to it.
Yeah, I get what you mean. I think this just feels like stagnation and just seeing that. And it's like, you just want to keep going as you are. I think it's that people talk about, oh, you can get whatever you want. And like having this realization, just like, oh, you just want what you had, don't you? You just want to carry on like nothing changed.
Mm-hmm.
That's so, I don't know, pedestrian, boring. How comfortable must you have been to just want to go back to that?
Yeah, I love that. I love it. And I think, in my eyes, this is a sign that we're on this is the best possible outcome, right? Like in my eyes, this is a sign that we're making progress and that we're on the road that we're supposed to be on.
Yeah. Yeah. It's good.
I love that. I love that a lot. All right. So we have a 13. Our total for the day is 13, which means we do have to continue to press on.
All right.
And I've drawn the 9 of spades. Spades are buildings, nature, and statues. A 9 is what does this remind you of? What do we find that is tied to your memories?
I want to, because I just imagine just like a ball pit filled with something that really aren't those plastic playpen balls. It's like they look simultaneously like those. They look like boba tea, like the boba. They look just like all these different spherical things that are just like moving around. It's upsetting.
I love that.
It's just visually upsetting.
And I think we have to go through it.
And
I think
through.
Yeah, we have to wade through it, but like it turns into we kind of have to swim through it. Because like it in the nature of the zone, like it reflects a reality where this ball pit is everything, and so like in the reality of like you are a child in a ball pit, like it is infinite, right? Like it is infinite in every direction. And like I think there's a moment where we get separated. I think there's a moment where like we get kind of separated, and there's that one moment where it's like similar to if you're out at sea, and there's that thing that like they talk about when you're at sea of like the terrifying moment when you don't see land in any direction. And like all we see in every direction are like these sort of vaguely floating orbs, these vaguely floating ball pit balls that are like, and like until we're able to like find each other and connect. You probably have to find me because you're able to navigate, right? Like you're the navigator.
Also, fishing children out of ball pits because they get sad because they can't get out is probably something I did countless times.
Oh, 100%.
And as I find you, I look younger. Like there's what I look like I did when the zone happened.
Oh, I love that.
Like
I
this
love
young,
that so
like
much.
candy striped kind of hair, like in a long braid, and now it's sort of like just very short and scrubby looking. And yeah, just very clean and very young looking. And
And
yeah.
I am unnerved by that because like I even on a strictly like tactical level, I am unnerved by the idea that you might not have the experience that you had when we started.
But yeah, and I sort of like hook you under, like I hook my arm around yours and get us both out. And I think you don't see it. And then maybe if this was on a camera, the camera wouldn't even see it. But it's easier to move you than it should, like you are a child, like you are smaller. But as we sort of like get to the other side and pull up out of this, that takes far more effort than it should have done. We're both back to how we normally look.
I adore it. I love it. It's fantastic. And like I think like that is the end of our day. And that is the end of our day because we have 22. Which is not good.
That sounds bad.
On a day that we've drawn over 21, a disaster has happened and our journey has ended for the day. Draw a card and refer to the setback table to describe what happens next. Ooh, oh, that's really good. It's a 5, which is tensions rise between the navigator and client.
Fantastic. All right.
So, what do we think what sparks the tensions between us?
I mean, is it him seeing them look so young?
Yeah. I think it's like what the hell happened to you? Like what happened? Like you're not who you were when we went into the water ball pit. I don't know. You're not who you were.
I want to paint the picture actually that we've come out and it's like this shifting, one of those big jungle gyms made of the big foam stuff covered in that weird plasticky fabric.
Oh,
and that we're
yeah, I hate
taking
'em.
shelter under that. But it is like adult sized around us.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And also certain parts of it are masonry though. Like if you look too hard, there's like, that's not plastic. That is like wood and that is concrete. And that's a piece of rebar, not foam covered. Just like, it's upsetting and good.
And I think that like weird plastic fabric, when you look at it, is whatever that crystal that I've been seeing pictures go around after WandaVision wrapped of like the crystal that is like car paint that has crystallized. And so it's got that weird like orange or that weird like, I'm going to see if I can find a photo of it. I'm sure I can. Oh, I'm not going to be able to, but like there's this weird car paint like has crystallized and formed crystals underneath it that like it looks like it's got like this meaty texture underneath. It's creepy looking.
I have absolutely seen that. Yes.
Okay. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, like is it like the fossilized car paint from Detroit?
Yes.
I know the exact thing you mean.
And so I think like the fabric under our feet is exactly that, and it's got that really creepy texture to it. And I think I am mortified that you are not who you were, and like in the back of my mind, like I don't even know if I say this when I start throwing accusations. I'm like, you're not who you were. Are you even who I think you are?
I didn't see, okay? But you knew me before. Why is this upsetting you so much? You knew what this place was.
Yeah, but you're not. You are. I hired you because you're not.
Because I'm not what?
You're not this place. You're not this place. You're not this. And at least that's not what I thought. Yes, that is exactly what I was thinking of. This, and it's horrifying looking. I'm gonna post a link to a photo of this in the show notes so people can see this creepy looking thing because it's extremely cool.
Yeah, I saw it and I was like, that's horrifying and intriguing. I hate and love this in equal measure.
Yeah, I think I'm freaking out. I'm like, you're not. I hired you because you're not this place, and now I'm not so sure.
How do you think I know how to get around it? What possessed you to think that I wasn't of this place? I was here when it happened.
I knew you before, and I figured. if you had been changed somehow, that I wouldn't still know you, that you would be gone somehow.
Well, I'm here.
Yeah, so you certainly appear to be.
I just slap you. Just once, not massively hard or anything, just like across the face, just like, does this feel real to you?
And I think at that moment, I completely stiffen up and I'm like, I'm going to go to bed. I'm going to make myself a salad and I'm going to go to bed.
All right.
And I just slap down my backpack and start pulling out vegetables.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, I keep giving you the stink eye as I'm like cutting vegetables with like a pocket knife.
That visual is so good. Oh, I love it.
And I think that's where we end our night, is like we're not talking and I am like consciously trying to like build a camp entirely separate from you. While also like fully taking advantage of everything that you are actually capable of doing that I have no idea about.
I also like that it provides just like very cat vibes or child vibes. You're just like, I'm annoyed at you, but I need you to know that I am annoyed at you, so I'm going to be annoyed directly in your eye line.
Yeah, exactly. All right, I'm going to flip our next card and we're going to start the next day of our journey. The Ace of Diamonds.
Hey, ooh, diamonds are fun.
Diamonds are fun. Diamonds are oddities caused by the sight, visions, and unexplainable mysteries. Oh, and the ace is what frightens you most about this.
Yes!
Good combo. Good card draw.
Nice.
Dang.
I
think we gotta be in a store, right?
Yes. I think maybe we're cutting through something and it has to like shift while we're in there.
Oh, I love that so much. Yeah, I love that. I think.
What if it's like an IKEA?
I like it. I like it being an IKEA. That's very good, especially because IKEAs are already horrifying on their own merits.
Yeah, like we're just like, we won't go too deep into the IKEA. It's like the ground level where the warehouse is. We'll just like cut through that part. In theory, this will be fine.
And I think like the detail that I want to throw out is like the reality that is around us is like a reality in which the center of the universe is the warehouse of an IKEA.
Oof.
Which, I mean, on one hand, it's just the warehouse of an IKEA, but on the other hand, like, this idea that, like, everything is here to a horrifying degree, right? Like, we're passing by shelves that are, like, the moment when your childhood crush, like, fell in love with someone else and you saw it happening before your eyes. A 14-piece assemblable set.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
And it's like everything.
Yeah. And I really like the vibe of this almost labyrinth-esque feeling. Like we look up and it's just shelves upon shelves upon shelves. And yeah, it's just like, and that it's almost oppressive in that there's everything here and there's no escape from it. It's all we can see.
Yeah.
Oh, except for these painted yellow arrows on the floor.
Right. Yeah. That seem to be. I love it, and I want to throw out a frightening thing. Maybe what we find, or maybe what one of us sees, and we can kind of debate who sees this first, because I think this is a moment of drama. Is like an assembly set for. An assembly set for the moment when one of us betrays the other.
Ooh.
And like so we just good. Kind of like it's just kind of like one of us, like it catches one of us in the corner of their eye. They see like betrayal, and they see like, I think the camera effect is that like it is maybe like there's a sensor bar over it, and it just says like in a way that is clearly like the camera doing a trick, like it says either navigator or client on it over a sensor bar where a name is written. But like we, and so it's like we see that, and it's like our real name, like it's our name that we have never fully spoken on camera is betrayed by other person's real name, and like so we see like it's that sense of like, you ever see your name like in writing somewhere and it just kind of like catches your eye and it draws you to it?
Yes. Yeah.
One of us sees that, and we can discuss who we think it is, who we think it's more interesting for. sees their name off the corner of their eye and like looks, and it says very specifically like the moment blank is betrayed by blank, a 14-piece assembly set. Who do we think sees it?
Mom. I mean, the client is already so paranoid.
This is true.
I mean, I kind of I like the thought of playing it. It's the navigator that sees that.
I think so. I was leaning that direction because, yeah, I think that the client is already paranoid, so I don't know that they would necessarily, like, I don't know that it would terrify them to see that in the way that, like, seeing that from the navigator is going to, like, affirm some long-running suspicions in their head in a very interesting way.
Yeah, and I think it's less the betrayal that is what's terrifying about this, because, like, this guy's a dick, frankly.
Yeah.
It's seeing their name.
Oh, I like that.
They've never used their name in this place since it happened.
Yeah.
Oh. The font in which it's written is their old name badge from the daycare. So it's like their own handwriting.
Ooh. That's good.
Hell yeah.
That's really good.
So yeah, I think they just see that and it catches their eye and they're like, and they double look and then they read it and they're just staring at this for a moment.
And I think peak, there's this moment. There's this infinitesimal moment where this is speaking about it in terms of metafiction, because sometimes it's the best way for me to explain a thing.
Sure.
There is a very clear, is Deckard a replicant, or like is the top falling over moment where like I walk over and I'm like completely impatient that you have been stalled up and you're staring ahead, and there's this moment where like you see it out of the corner of your eye and the viewer sees it out of the corner of their eye, where like, did I just look at the label? Did I just see what it said? But like, I clearly am just like, come on, we gotta go. Like, this place is gonna shift into something weird, and I don't want to be trapped in whatever this place is gonna become.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. And just like turns their back to this box, just like, I'm not gonna. No.
I love it.
I think there's this, as if this was the camera shot, the two of them like are walking towards the camera, and there's that sort of racked dolly shot where the focus shifts to the background, and the navigator is clearly thinking of looking round to see if it's still there, and they don't.
I love it. All right, I'm going to flip our next card.
Alrighty.
And it is the King of Hearts. Treasures, artifacts, and unknown objects. And the king is, how does this help you on your journey?
God, I want it to be something like a map, or like one of those little things that they give you at restaurants to buzz when your table's ready. Like something like that.
Yeah, yes. I want it. It's got to be something like that, because that's gonna give us that I feel like that's gonna give us a closing note once we hit to the camp that I think is extremely compelling to me.
Alrighty.
I think it is. What we come across is the information, or the map. Not kiosk. It's not a kiosk. It's like the map thing that you have in a shopping mall. Yeah.
With the big with the store directory and the map of the layers, and you can figure out you're here and all that jazz.
And like it's moving around, but we're staring at it. It's like we just see the two of us staring at it for a very long time as like stores move around, but we're like, that's a map. That seems to be a map of exactly the zone.
A map that's updating in real time.
And when we go I think like we go to touch it, and like it almost tilts over, which reveals that it is like so impossibly light that like it takes a little bit of effort, but we're able to kind of uproot it and like sling it on one of our backs.
Detail: when we uproot it, has actual roots, but made of
100%.
Yeah,
100%. I don't think that was ever in doubt.
Okay, cool. Just for the sake of the listeners. It's got actual roots. Yeah.
We pull it up. It's got actual roots, but like it is so light, it is like pulling out a weed, right? Like it just comes up, and it's this giant like 6.5 foot thing that we kind of have to like sling on our back like a
Yeah.
big giant like shovel or something, but like it is
like a big sandwich board.
Yeah, and it's just so light. Like it doesn't even barely feels like it's there.
Yeah.
And I think I'm gonna throw this to you.
Mm-hmm.
I think I go to put it on my back. What do you do when that happens?
You're right. You should carry it because that way I'll be able to read the. Oh, you can walk in front with that, and I'll be able to read the map as we go.
Oh, that. Well, I feel like wouldn't it? And I'm like holding it, and I'm like, well, then wouldn't it make more sense because you already know where you're going? So wouldn't it make more sense for me to be reading the map?
If that's what you'd rather.
Okay. Yes, let's do that. And I kind of like hand it over to you, and I'm very much like, I don't. You're agreeing with me, and I'm not. I have no context for what's supposed to happen with that.
And I sort of take the map and like shoulder it, and I think the camera sees the roots sort of like curling around under like my arms and to not around each other at the small of my back. So
I love it. And so with that, we have a total of 21, which means the day's journey has been a success. So we have 3 days. So would you like to roll 2d6 and see if we get under a 3?
we get a 3.
I'm willing to call that. I'm willing to say that is. It is juicier to me that means that we find the room than not.
Sure, I'm down.
The rules of the game strictly state that it's less than the number of days, but it is juicier. The luck of that roll is juicier to me that we have found the room. And so we find the room. What does it actually look like?
I think we see it differently.
Yes, good. I think it's exactly what we both expected, right?
Absolutely.
Like to a point where we both immediately know it's the room.
Yes. That's how you know it's the room, because it is what you were expecting to see.
Yeah.
Good shit.
And I think what happens is I'm like dancing around and being very giddy, and then I kind of stop and I look at you and I'm like, so we both go then, right?
I mean, I didn't come here for this.
Yeah, but you found it.
Yeah. What's your point? And they genuinely look perplexed. They're not trying to mess with him.
And I think I'm like, well, yeah, but I mean, like that's what any of us are doing here. That's the only reason that we go in here, right? Is to find this room, and now we found the room. I mean,
that's why you came here. I came with you to help you find it.
I don't, but you know what that room is going to give you, right?
So tilts the head to side, just like, eh. I think you have to know what you want.
You're going to stare in the face and just walk away.
What does it matter to you if I go in there or not?
Because how do you just not want something?
Quite easily.
And I
What part of this are you struggling with? And I'm sort of like almost squaring up to you with this massive map on my back.
You don't get to be... Everybody wants something. It's not weird that I wanted something. It's not weird that I wanted my nice, comfortable, boring life back. That's
what you wanted.
It is everything that I... But you know what?
What?
And I walk off.
Into the room or elsewhere?
I walk straight into the room. And I think like you see me, you see, I think what the closing shot is, if I'm gonna throw this out and say like, if you're okay, if you want to go in a different direction, you can go in different direct. We can go in a different direction, but I think I walk off. I think I walk straight into the room. You watch it kind of fade away, right? Like you watch like what you saw as like the heart of this place become like entangled in weeds, and then suddenly in front of you is like a Pier 1 Imports or something.
Yeah.
and all you feel in your head is a want to find the room and get something.
Oh, you
what I
motherfucker.
ended up asking for. My
That's
betrayal.
an in character. Yeah, go on.
My betrayal was that, like, I got so angry that you were going to pass up this opportunity that I asked to be proven right that you wanted something.
That's so fucking good, and I'm annoyed about it.
And that's game. I think the closing shot is just like we watch your face, right? Like slowly like realize how badly you want to go back to the room.
Yeah.
And probably also realize what that means about what I asked.
Yeah. I do think there is that look of, oh, you mother. I sort of like pull the map off my back and you hear this ripping of the roots as I like put it down on the floor in front of me and try to take in the scope of everything and watch as the map shifts and swims. And like the thought of the camera sort of zooms in on the map just to the you are here and cuts to black.
Yep. Perfect. And that's game. Oh my God, that's fantastic. What a great ending. What a great story. I'm so happy about it.
Me too. That was awesome.
I loved it. Thank you so much for coming on the show and playing this with me. This was a delight.
Thank you. This is good. Had a lot of fun.
So I had so much fun. Thank you so much. Real quick before we wrap up, where can people find you and your work online?
You can find me, Jade, the person, at Jade Oxford Rose on Twitter. If you're desperate to find me on Tumblr, I'm the-Oxford-Fangeek on Tumblr. My podcasts, though, are the stuff that I am really proud of. You can find that at FTLcast on Twitter and at FTLcast.com. You can find Dumb Kids Playing Hero at DKPHpod. And you can find the Standing Stones Guild at Stones_standing on Twitter and Standing Stones Prod on Twitch. Every week there is games streamed and we do live TTRPG streams for charity as often as we can. So you should check that out. We've had Jeff come play with us a couple of times, so you know it's good.
You know it's good. I personally endorse it. Okay, so before we wrap up, can I give a post-credit scene?
Hell yes. Hit me with it.
I think like you are sitting. I think like we come to the credits. You are sitting like you're sitting in a bar like in the zone, right in the outskirts of the zone. Like you have the map kind of like next to you, and you're just watching it. And I think I walk up to you. I think you see me walk up to you, but with almost no memory of like having walked up to you. With a vibe, and I'm like, I want to hire you to find the room.
Incredible. I want to cut there. I don't even want their reaction. I just love that.
Yep.
Oh.
And there's the post-credit scene. Thank you so much for doing the show with me. This was so good. And now I'm going to throw it over to me in the future so that he can wrap up with the show. Take it, future me. Thanks, past me. And thanks again to Jade for coming on to the show. That game took some twists that I did not expect, and they made for such an incredible story that I am so grateful from the bottom of my heart that we got to play it together. It was incredible. Incredible game. I could not be happier. Be sure to head to Michael Clamorous. That's Michael-KLAMERUS.itch.io/Navigator to pick up your copy of Navigator. And be sure to check out Follow the Leader and Dumb Kids Playing Hero, as well as everything else that Jade has going on in the show notes. And be sure to follow Jade on Twitter at Jade Oxford Rose. Then while you're on Twitter, follow us at Party of One Pod. Like this show on Facebook at facebook.com/partyofonepodcast. Head to our Discord at bit.ly/partyofonediscord. And then head to our merch store at bit.ly/partyofonemerch. If you enjoy the show, you can support us financially at patreon.com/JeffStormer or Ko-fi.com/JeffStormer. Or if you're looking for free ways to support the show, you can leave us a review on Podchaser. You can tell a friend about the show. You can give us some support on social media. Anything to help us reach new listeners and grow and do bigger, better, and cooler things. If you're looking to support more podcasts that I appear on every single week, you can listen to All My Fantasy Children, which is a character creation, storytelling, and world-building podcast on the One Shot Podcast Network, powered by you. Every week, my best friend Aaron Gaetano Saez and I take a listener-submitted prompt. We spin it into an original fantasy character, and we populate a shared universe one story at a time. New episodes drop every Friday-ish at oneshotpodcast.com. Party of One is produced and edited, as always, by Jeff Stormer and Jen Frank. All music for the show comes from the song Infinite Lives by Megaran, featuring the D&D Sluggers, and the Party of One logo is by Evan Rowland. If you would like to inquire about advertising rates, coming onto the show as a guest, or about press coverage of the show, you can email me at partyofonepodcast@gmail.com. And that's really all I got for you, so until next time, thank you so much for listening. Remember to fight the force of fascism every single day. And remember that self-love and self-care are radical and defiant acts of resistance, and as always, party on, everybody.